them as food or as samples. So that's how the idea of making the food and sambusa came because of the COVID-19. Now we make the food, and as you know, this flow of mushroom can last more than 6 months after you put the mushroom tube. After 7 days, you can start to harvest. So in a week, all these 26 small ones, we harvest like 200 kilograms as an average. We faced a lot of challenges, as well as all the country knows what was going on. During the COVID pandemic, we had no customers because there was no movement, there was no customers to come and buy our products. So we faced a loss after that period. We thought of how can we overcome this problem. So we thought of adding value to our products. How can we make a flour from the mushrooms? How can we make the sambusa from the mushrooms so that those who can't consume them as fresh can take them as flour or as sambusa? So that's how the idea of making the flour and sambusa came because of the COVID-19. Now we make the flour, and as you know, this flour of mushroom can last more than 6 months after planting the mushroom tubes. After 7 days, you can start to harvest. So in a week, all these 26 small rooms, we harvest like 200 kilograms as an average.
La crise sanitaire COVID-19 a eu un fort impact dans nos exploitations. Nous avons rencontré beaucoup de difficultés, telles que la baisse de la main-d'œuvre. Nous avons relevé certains exploitants qui ont dû abandonner leurs étangs parce que le travail devenait difficile. Donc, les produits sont devenus rares sur le marché et voire même très coûteux. Et cela a causé une baisse de production importante. C'est ainsi que pour pallier à ces difficultés, nous avons donc mis une stratégie de vente en ligne par l'utilisation des réseaux sociaux. On a ouvert une page Facebook pour faire la promotion de nos produits avec un numéro WhatsApp qui permet aux clients d'entrer directement en contact avec nous. Aujourd'hui, avec notre base de données clients, nous avons relancé la commercialisation.
Ça a mis en rôle le COVID-19. tjeho tsa transport o dile tsa tjhentjha tsa ya hodimo. La ra lahla di-support base tsa rona hobane customer-a jwale di se di sa kgone hore di tle di tlo itatela teng. Mme re la ra qetella re etse di-strategy tse ding hore re atamele di-customer-a tsa rona. La ka ra ba le di-strategy tsa online tsa marangrang moo re ka kopanang le di-customer-a. Ba bang ba ile ba atleha ho kgutla, ba bang ya ba bothata. Empa le ha o le jwalo, re la boela ra ema ka leoto le leng ho fihlela ho bonahala hore re ya tsitsa. Ha ba sentse ba elellwa hore re ba atametse ka bothata hore re ba fe thepa ya bona haufinyane, ba ile nne ba kgutla le bona ba re support.
Qholotso ya pele eo re ileng ra e fumana ka nako eo ke ya hore ke a kgola re le Basotho re tla dumellana hore bahlahisi ba ditsuonyana ka hara naha ba fokola, mme qholotso e kgolo ile ya ba ke hore madiboho a Lesotho a ile a kwalwa, di ile tsa nyoloha haholoholo. Di mabenkeleng ana a phehang dijo ho no ho kwetswe, mme taba eno ile ya makgwebo haholo ka lebaka la hore jwale le bona ile bareki ba rona re ne re sitwa hore re ba isetse dikgoho tseno. Empa a be re dula fatshe motho o sheba rona jwale ha ile mona kgwebo e se ya meile tjenana, e ka ba o ka etsa eng? Ka be re batla motjhini onana o phubulang dikgoho. Lebaka le leholoholo ke la hore taba yana COVID-19 e batla e theohile haholo. Jwale batho ba ne be leng bona baji e leng batho ba neng ba mampatlelong be re ba rekisetsang ka hara toropo, di stana di di-restauranteng ba butsi jwale, mme dikgwebo di tswela pele. Mme taba eno e re thusitse haholo, kapa taba eo ya COVID-19 lemong senana ka nnete re batla ho le betere ka lebaka leno, kgwebo e tswela pele hantle ka makgethe.
Ko yettude e jarnude pelle ɗiɗi surtout FIDA kadi emin gonno e caɗele musɗe mettude ɗe min mbawa safrande ko en kono nde min gaddana machine o ko 2 cylindres so pompi min jogui ko 6 hectares e nder 30 minutes minen fof min kebde ndiyam taw min dugdani min kaɓani tawno min mbaɗanno ko panion amen e cukalon amen ko tan ɓe ƴetta siwoji ɓe ƴetta panuji emin doosa sa rotiri hoore noon ko dañata hen famɗa min batti ittude ha heewi soble min liiri ha ɗo joni min jogui soble ko ɗo joni ɗo soble ɗe manki ɗo min jaltini min mofti ɗo joni min jeeyi kilo 450 bamumen ma yi ko min woni yumma min woni baba kono Allah kadi ɓuuri andude ina faabimi no faborimi ni ko noon fabori heddiɓe wallahi projet safka o FIDA 2020 o emi ko yettude Allah tan yettudeɓe ala fof koɓe mbannani min adu.
One, two. Yes. Two.
That will, attract the attention. I just want to invite people. Yeah, sure. Reach out. Hello.
Good evening, everyone. We are Pan-African Farmers Organization. We are inviting you to join us on the next session, which is taking place here in this room. And the title is Farmers and Food Systems Governance Side Event at the CAADP Kampala Declaration. So please feel free to join us. We are starting very shortly. Thank you for joining us. Bonsoir à toutes et à tout le monde. On vous invite à participer dans une session parallèle qui va suivre, qui va aux alentours d'un sujet mettre les agriculteurs au centre de la mise en œuvre de la déclaration de Kampala sur le PDDA pour renforcer la gouvernance des systèmes agroalimentaires. Donc, soyez les bienvenus ici dans la salle. Merci. On va commencer dans peut-être 5 minutes à venir. Merci. Soyez les bienvenus. You're welcome to PAFO side event.
New Garnier Vitamin C Night Serum. 10% vitamin C.
Okay. We're going to start, so let's get settled. Okay. You're welcome. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I want to welcome you to this important side event being organized by PAFO and its members. One of the things that we see in the development of this CAADP strategy and action plan is that farmers were recognized in the process, and which is what we want to achieve. That is, we want farmers to be on the table when important issues are being discussed about them. So this is a new development. It has been happening before, but not at the scale that we have this time around, which is a good thing for us. Because in the development of the strategy and the action plans, PAFO was involved both at the local level, to the national level, to the regional level, and to the continental level, whereby we presented our memorandum to the CAADP Secretariat, and it was taken into consideration, and were involved in all the processes for the development, the discussions. PAFO was well represented during the process. And it is in this context that we want to look this afternoon about the farmers and food system governance. That is, we want farmers to be put at the center of the implementation of the CAADP agenda, so that they will be able to be involved in the governance of the food systems during the implementation. That is, all the production of the biannual reviews and all other processes, we want to be involved. We want to put the voice of our over 80 million members into the processes, that we hold the implementers responsible. And as farmers, we have also our role to play in the implementation. And that is why we have assembled the speakers that will help us to look at the theme. Because some of them are not farmers, but they know what farmers should do to be involved in the implementation of the agenda. That is why we want to listen to them, so that we as farmers, we are going to take note, and we are going to use the suggestions and the recommendations that they will make in our follow-up process after the declaration of the CAADP here tomorrow by the heads of government. So without wasting time, because we are starting late, I will call on the representative of Dr. Ousmane. Dr. Ousmane is in another session now, so he has asked Dr. Augustine, who's the director in Akademiya, to represent him. Dr. Augustine, you are welcome. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Sorry for On behalf of my boss, I would like to say sorry that he's not able to join. He has some clashes in his calendar. He had to attend to an urgent meeting with a partner. We've been struggling to have that opportunity. Now he could not miss it. So on his behalf, I would like to thank you for inviting us, for giving us this opportunity to show support to the work that the farmer organizations have been doing, the PAFO. I personally will be speaking based on what I've witnessed in terms of your role in this process, how central the role that you play is, having been part of this process from the very beginning. I would like to structure my intervention maybe in three different phases. The one would be to share some historical perspective on how I've seen and witnessed your contribution into this process from Maputo to where we are today. The second, I will be talking about how you have demonstrated that you are assertive in playing your role, and then also something on the critical role that you have played in the accountability process under the CAADP. Sorry, I didn't prepare any written material because he just told me now. I remember from the early days of CAADP, farmers' organizations were already part of the discussion, part of the key constituencies of CAADP. But I also remember that there were, by the vast majority of stakeholders involved in the process, just like the non-state actors or NGOs for that matter, not necessarily considered as an important constituency of the CAADP fraternity that was being assembled. But thanks to very decisive leaderships from within the regions, SADC region, West Africa region, Central Africa region, East Africa region, we started to see very clear demarcation, including from people's opinion, on what farmers represent or should represent in a vibrant CAADP process. I remember their contribution to all the key stakeholder engagements were very much appreciated, starting from being considered as a peripheral player to a central player in the process, in the sense that they were part of the process at the country level, regional level, and continental level. They helped, once the CAADP Maputo Declaration was adopted, they helped to shape the direction that you see today that CAADP ended up taking. So in that, in my view, farmers should be very proud of what they have achieved. They have conquered, it was not given. They didn't come to the table begging. Some people probably thought that it would be good to make them a favor. But in my view, farmers refused to accept favor. They wanted to play their fair share of role in the process. And it wasn't easy for other players to appreciate. I'll give you one example to show you how difficult it was back in the early days to consider ideas that are not part of what the mainstream thought the process should embrace. When we started, for instance, talking about nutrition as part of CAADP, was something of a taboo. When you would talk about nutrition, people would laugh at you. Some of us were not really educated on the issue. But some researchers who were already having access to emerging findings of how important and critical the nutrition is, especially during the first 1,000 days of a new baby, they started to say to us that, look, there is no way you can have a successfully developed agriculture, because at the time we're talking about the agricultural development and food security. You cannot have a well-nourished or food-secure continent if nutrition is not part of the equation. We started to consider the notion of food and nutrition security. It was not given. That's one example. Another example is when we started signing compacts with the countries. In the early days, not in all countries, farmers had access to the table to be part of the signatories of the compact. The compact, for those who probably may have forgotten, was that document that was not legally binding, but that was kind of a gentleman agreement among the key constituencies to agree on a common goal on how people will work together to deliver agricultural development and food security in the country, with development partners signing on behalf of that community, Ministry of Finance or Planning signing for the government, or Ministry of Agriculture, and so on and so forth. But farmers were also signing. It was not the case in the past. That is an important element. So I think in that way you have played your role, and you should be proud of it. It was not given as I indicated, but you managed to be constructive in the way you articulated the points that you were making, by making the case for the farmers to be considered in their own right as members of that CAADP fraternity. Now, coming to the accountability issue, I also believe that is critical. When we started, when CAADP started, we were talking about mutual accountability. It was actually one of those household concepts that were going everywhere, and farmers were also themselves struggling to understand what that meant. But I could see them more on the side of those saying that we are not allowed to have access to the table when it comes to setting the agenda. But increasingly, when the issue of, when there was a framework to help mobilize non-state actors to play their role, farmers always argue that they don't want to be considered non-state actors. They want an identity. They want to be identified as farmer organizations so that they can play their role. They don't want to be considered private sector, which is also something that you understand. So you guys became very assertive, and that also helped the process by putting pressure on the decision makers and also helping to keep office holders to account. Now, on the accountability still, I remember what you were doing at the country level, how you were able to share notes between countries, across countries, through opportunities of learning events, which back in the days, IFAD was supporting a lot. I personally facilitated quite a few of them. I could see from even 1 to B to C, A to B to C, how the momentum was growing. And farmers started to demand more and more and more. Another example that I would like to take, I attended a meeting in Mali in 2005, where the then president, late Amadou Toumani Touré, was sharing what he was calling the Presidential High-Level National Committee on Food Security. And farmers in that particular committee were given the seat at the highest table. And he would stand up himself, the president, and say there is no way he can approve any single policy without consulting farmers or without having the blessing of farmers. He wanted to make sure that whatever he would decide was in the interest of the nation, but also was putting farmers first. So in that case, farmers were able to put pressure on civil servants for them to be held to account to the resources and the results. And maybe last point, speaking about something more recent, I very much like what the CEO said in his introductory remarks, that farmers have been very active in the post-Malabo process from within. I was very lucky to be assigned to coordinate the work of the technical working groups. So I'm telling you with confidence that what farmer did impressed me once again. I'm not saying this to please you, but I'm saying it from the bottom of my heart, because I see your contribution as very vital. Looking at how demanding you were, or you've been through the process, putting together your memorandum from the regional groupings cascading up to going bottom up to the continental level. I happened to attend a few meetings with the CEO himself, and I'm also very aware of how passionate you were in making sure that what comes through this process is something that takes into account the interests of farmers, but also fairly so, the interests of all the key constituency in the process. I have no doubt with this that going forward, when it comes to implementation, again, you will be there. You'll probably be in your interest moving from here to begin to see how you generate innovative partnerships to be able to continue to play your role and your role to continue to be as impactful as it has been throughout this process of the past 24 months. So on that note, I would like to thank you very much for the work that you've been doing. I'm speaking on behalf of Dr. Badiane, but also as a son of the land, very passionate about this topic, having been head of CAADP for many years. So I very much look forward to continuing to support you as Akademiya 2063 when it comes to data analytics and how can we support local learning in being able to connect the research with the demand for knowledge to inform decision-making, including by the farmer organization. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Gusin, for that very detailed historical and the current issues on the contribution of farmers. We don't have time because we didn't start on time, so I will have to now invite our president of East African Farmers Federation, who is going to moderate the first session, Mrs. Elizabeth Nsimudala.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Babafemi, the CEO of of Pan-Africa Farmers Organization. And let me start by, first of all, appreciating Dr. Augustine Wambo for really setting the scene and for the continuous commitment that you've pledged to continue supporting PAFO. So good evening, colleagues. Yeah, it's really an excellent honor for me to moderate this important session, which is hosted by the Pan-Africa Farmers Organization under the theme, Putting Farmers at the Center of Implementing CAADP Kampala Declaration to Strengthen Agri-Food Systems Governance. And before I start the session, I would like to use this opportunity to appreciate the African Union for the opportunity given to PAFO to host this side event. It really shows the commitment and the importance that the African Union attaches to the farmers' organization of this continent. And also as a reminder that the creation of PAFO was also facilitated by the African Union about 15 years ago, that is around 2010. So for us, African Union is our parent, and we've really walked this journey together. Again, also to thank the government of Uganda for the hospitality and for organizing this event in this beautiful city of Kampala at this beautiful Serena Resort. Distinguished Excellencies, my role is very simple. It is to moderate this session. And without further ado, I would like to really welcome our distinguished experts, the speakers of this session, who are the good friends of the farmers. And I don't know whether Dr. Boaz Keizile is already in the room. Yes, so I would like to welcome you to the podium. Dr. Boaz heads policy, advocacy, and food systems at AGRA. I would like to, I'm not sure whether, Doctor, you're representing Dr. Agri. Yes, please, welcome to the stage. It's Dr., the names, Fatumbi, or the second name? Oyewole. Yeah, he's Dr. Fatumbi Oyewole, He will give more introductions as he makes his presentation, but he's the acting director research at the FARA, the Forum for Agricultural Research in Africa. And I would like also to welcome Ms. Francine Picard. She's the Director of Partnerships at the Shamba Centre. And ladies and gentlemen, join me also in welcoming Dr. Anthony Chapoto. Is the Executive Director, Africa Network of Agriculture Policy Research Institutes, ANAPRI. He's actually still new in this role, I think about 6 months. Yeah, so we also join, I also join the rest of colleagues in congratulating you. And finally, join me again in welcoming Mr. Pardon Jelele. He's an agriculture economist at COMESA, and he's standing in to represent Dr. Providence Mavumbi, who is the Director of Industry and Agriculture at COMESA. So welcome, colleagues, and I would like straight away to go into the discussion. There's no any format, but I would like you really to your background on how you're going to support the capacity building of farmers in terms of understanding the policy framework. We're going to launch the CAADP 3.0. So meaning in the next 10 years, we as farmers organizations, we would need a lot of capacity building in terms of implementing the strategies and being able to deliver on the commitments. So Dr. Boaz, I'll start with you. And I give you the floor to share your perspective from the AGRA background. Thank you and welcome.
I think it's working now. Thank you so much. First of all, I acknowledge thank you so much, Pathe, for letting me know that I was part of this panel. I wasn't completely aware. I was just busy in another meeting, listening carefully, and I thought, since it's the next room, let me walk in. The second acknowledgement and appreciation is that now I'm called the doctor. When you are in this space for quite some time, you begin to accumulate profiles and things, and one of them that have been added to me today is doctor, and Dr. Wambo, don't feel jealous about it. It's part of the business that we are doing. So I am going to speak briefly about this topic offhand based on what I know and what I understand on how the centrality of farmers' organizations and therefore the need, not the farmers' organization, the farmers. Because when we talk about agriculture, agri-food systems, everything we eat comes from the soil. It is fed by somebody, and the center person who is behind this is a farmer. Whether smallholder, medium, or large scale, it's a farmer. In the history of my work, since I started working in this space, I think one of the things that I've recognized in terms of different groups that are structured and organized are farmers. Why do I say this? Starting from any village on the continent is what you'll find an organized farmers group. They will be there, a group of farmers organized and registered by certain actors. And then a similar group belongs to a district or a sub-national farmers system. I'm trying to avoid the word organization so that I don't mix it with what we are popularly knowing as farmers organization. At the national level, you'll find a similar combination of national-based, district-organized to national farmers organization. So structured from a nation to a district up to national level. So there's a structure upon which you can actually translate services, whether it's seeds, whether inputs, whether policies, through that structured system. And similar structures actually cascade at regional level and therefore at continental level. So when you hear about Pan-African farmers, regional farmers in the sense of Kasakau or East African Farmers Federation, ROP and others, that structure is very, very critical. You don't easily find similar structures when you're talking about private sector, for example, I know we've talked about chambers of commerce, but you don't have that structure that speaks from a continent up to grassroots level when I talk about farmers. So coming from AGRA as an organization, and as if you read and follow how the kind of work we do, we are a farmer-centered organization, Africa-led, private sector driven. So this farmer-centered piece and element of this is very, very critical to us. I want to claim that we are having a role that has to do with building capacities of everybody. But our intention is to really make sure that the services that farmers are supposed to get, actually get them in an efficient way. That's why we spend time to identify the ecosystem needs of the farmer. A seed, a fertilizer, an agronomy, or the knowledge and expertise that's around how to better use the seed, you use the fertilizer, such that the combination of all those can give you a better yield. And then the market, because if the farmer doesn't have the market as an incentive, there is no reason why the farmer should really go to an agro-dealer shop or go to buy for a fertilizer or to look for a seed. So the market becomes very, very critical. And then the other kind of services, access to agricultural finance. Because if you have a seed, you have a fertilizer, you have agronomy, what comes to mind is that you really need resources or money to be able to buy these seeds. And these seeds are not free, the fertilizers are not free. So a farmer ecosystem needs are very critical, and that's why AGRA spends its time and resources to look at what are these ecosystem needs of the farmer and what could actually be supported to make sure the farmer receives this. So our work and the relationship with farmers organization has been centered around those particular interests. If farmers are not organized, if they're not structured, of course, anybody, donor, ex-government, if you want to provide services, you will never find any good entry point. It's never easy to really find an entry point to provide services. Today, groups that are able to access resources either through commercial banks or through circles or organized structures of finance are those that are really structured in a way that they can be able to speak to each other. In a sense, they also create self-accounting systems because they are organized. They are structures. They have systems that allow them to be able to access these services. So as AGRA, we are very intentional to work with and support. And I know somebody in the corridors there was telling us that when we talk about AGRA, we hear money. That has never been our intention. We could have some resources, but our intention is to catalyze, to demonstrate what it looks like so that even other partners that are mandated to give resources are able really to bring those resources ahead to the table. So we intentionally work with, support, associate with farmers through farmers organization, either at national, regional, continental, or global level, intentionally really to be able to identify the best way to channel services based on what farmer ecosystem needs are. And we're really very, very intentional. And part of those services is building their capacities. I think what farmers need to be doing and through farmers organization is understanding what are the capacity needs of these farmers. What are they? And when I speak from a policy and government perspective, when we talk about evidence-based policies, initially, through so many years ago when I worked with government, especially here in Uganda with the Ministry of Agriculture, in many cases you look at farmers as recipients of services. I'm finishing now. But you need to be very specific about what, and through the farmers organization, to understand what are the capacity needs that are required so that they are not just only resources. There are very many partners out there willing to provide capacities and support, but only if farmers are strongly organized, they are structured, they have banks accounts, they are able to report back, and they're able to create the right demand that is before them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Boaz. By default. Yeah, and thank you very much for those good insights. And of course, we thank you for the work that AGRA is doing in supporting farmers' organizations. Maybe later on, I would also like to hear from you what you're going to do differently under CAADP 3.0 in terms of us as PAFO and the regional farmers organization accessing that catalytic support that AGRA gives to other players. I know you've been supporting us, but it's not much. So we need more resources. And I would like to hear how that is going to happen in the next round. I would like to move on. Where is the next mic? Another mic? Oh, it's not working. So since it's not working, there are mics, huh? Okay, so I would like to pass this to Mr. Pardon. Again, you reflect on that same question, on what you as a regional, sub-regional institution, you're going to do in terms of ensuring the engagement of farmers in the policy discussions. But again, try to reflect on what you expect from us as farmers organizations. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Doc, and for that important question. And also thanking you for inviting COMESA to this pivotal event, I think, where we are advancing the discourse of strengthening and transforming the agri-food systems within the framework of the Kampala CAADP process. I think this is important. I think COMESA views farmers as a baseline stakeholder. I think that anchors the production pillar of agri-food systems. Hence, their needs and priorities and aspirations should be well articulated in policy engagements and decisions to ensure that we have an inclusive, transformative agri-food system. So I think briefly I can also highlight what COMESA is, and for those who doesn't know much, so COMESA is a regional organization. It's one of the biggest, not in member states, but I think in terms of population and GDP. And I think its much focus is on economic integration and facilitating trade. So I think that's one of the critical things. So agriculture is one of its fundamental pillar to ensure that economic integration is achieved, industrialization is achieved. So I think coming back to your question, Chair, I think we have been doing much in terms of promoting market access. So we have been working with farmers to ensure that they access markets, and we have done that in many ways to ensure that their value chains are competitive, and we're also promoting value addition. We are also promoting digital marketing or digital trade so that we advance the trade of markets and ensure that farmers prosper in their endeavors. So in terms of what we shall be doing or what our role will be, I'd like to highlight that first of all, we are going to awareness creation of the CAADP process. I think, remember, that COMESA take a leadership role in terms of facilitating awareness and also expanding the CAADP aspirations at the regional level. So we are going to help to coordinate the advancing process and ensure that the aspirations of farmers are put into the center of the whole process. So I think this is one of the critical action that we are going to be doing. And remember, COMESA does it at regional level. So we make sure that we have regional farmer organizations in place. Then they're able to cascade it down to national levels and also to local levels. I think that's one area that we need to do. Number two, remember, COMESA facilitates policy alignment and harmonization. And I think our role is a best practice to include farmers or all stakeholders, including farmers, in policy debates and formulation. So in this whole process, COMESA invites farmers, invites all stakeholders to ensure that their contribution, aspirations are well put in the policies. So I think this is one of the critical action and role that we play as COMESA. Then I think another critical role that we are going to play in this whole process, in the new CAADP process, is to continue with our multi-stakeholder platforms. We continue to hold high-level multi-stakeholder workshops that actually pull out a number of stakeholders, if it all stakeholders, whether donors, whether private sector, farmers, to ensure that they sit together, they deliberate, and come up with key policy decision that ensures that there's an inclusivity in the whole process. So I think one of the fundamental action that we normally do is the COMESA Business Forum. Among other public-private dialogues that we do, we have a big one, we call it the COMESA Business Forum, which brings in all the 21 member states together, deliberate on key issues, and all these issues are escalated to the minister level, then endorsed by the heads of states. So by inviting farmer organizations in this whole process ensures that we have their decisions endorsed at high level. Then I think the issue of empowering farm organization, I think we have been doing that, and I think in our programming, we always make sure that we support this farm organization to ensure that they reach to their mandate. They do their mandate effectively and efficiently. So we always support them with resources, with technical support to ensure that they reach to their constituencies. They are able to analyze issues so that they have evidence-based issues being articulated for policy inclusion. So I think those are the key issues from other, like the monitoring and accountability. I think this time, the biennial process review, we are making sure that farmers are included so that we have an effective feedback on what is happening on the ground. So I think with this, we are going to proceed in that agenda with these actions and ensure that farmers' contributions and roles are well included. I thank you.
A round of applause for Mr. Pardon. Thank you very much for taking us through what you're doing at COMESA and what you're going to continue doing and your expectations of the farmers' organizations. I would like now to turn to Dr. Fatumbi. And I would like you to respond to the same question, giving FARA's perspective on what role you're going to do in terms of building the capacity of farmers' organizations. But also quite often, we as farmers, we normally complain that you do research in silos. So how are you going to ensure that the agricultural research reaches the smallholder farmer? Over to you, Fatumi.
Yeah, thank you very much. I have a small challenge. And the challenge is my mind and my brain is full of ideas. And the time here is not enough to put the ideas. And my friend is here. I don't want to repeat what he has said. So many good things. We need to put farmers at the center of the implementation. And the first point out of 5 that I put here is that the subject we are discussing here around the implementation is not solely the farmer's problem, okay? And you agree with me, it's every subsector of the divide's problem. And I remember, this is CAADP 3.0. I remember CAADP 3.1. It took 3 years after the declaration for us to take the first step. And FARA was there leading Pillar 4. You know, it was 4-pillar system that time. Until we got funding from the World Bank, we were unable to get the first country to sign the compact. 3 years after. I mean, CAADP 2 was a bit better because before we finished CAADP 1, we've got more than 20-something. Then with CAADP 2, we got over 44 countries signed the compact. Now, Africa is of age, CAADP 3. One of the key problems when you do the assessment, when this was getting developed, was the problem of coordinating the implementation of CAADP itself. Now we have lessons, we have opportunity, and I like to say the Soil Initiative for Africa that was declared in another presidential summit in May, and is already making a lot of traction, has given us some lessons on how to do it immediately without wasting time. I wouldn't know how far what we are discussing here we go to how NEPAD and African Union. We need to coordinate the implementation. And we need to put structure in place. If everybody is responsible, then nobody is responsible. You know, and that is the first step, the first point I want to make. The second one is around the subject matter of this discussion. Farmers at the center. We all know that the only way to evaluate the impact or the success of what will be declared tomorrow is through the farmers. And so the key issue is what is the baseline now? What is the increase in productivity of the farmers? What is the increase in the quality of life of the farmers? How much of the farmers' problem have we been able to solve, and how well has the farmers contributed to the growth of the sector? So, and that is very important to us. And so everybody theoretically want to put farmers in the center. But I'm going to tell you today that nobody puts everybody in the center. You move to the center. And so it's a challenge to you, my great brother, Babafemi, that you've got to be, the farmers' organization is set, I know, but it needs to be more proactive and move. Move. You don't wait for people to come and call you, because nobody will come to call you. So you've got to move. You've got to be assertive. And I think the modern farmers' organization is not just a grouping, but is a social movement. So you need to articulate what you want in a very proactive manner, using every instrument that is available. You need to come up with what you want, backed up by data, and you need to go. I want to say that from FARA side, coordinating agricultural research for development on the continent, you agree with me that more than 15 years ago, we started talking about multi-stakeholders approaches, and we come up with innovation platforms. This is gaining traction on the continent. It is important that the farmers' organization pick this up and have a link with all existing innovation platforms, because your members are the foot soldier on the innovation platform. And so as it relates to what FARA does, research and development, I'm closing please. Research and development, it is you that should define the research subject. And so while we sit in Accra, do all other things that we do, I am expecting a proactive farmers organization from the sub-region, from the country, from the continental body, to say that these are the technological problems that we have now. Can FARA walk through its fraternity to generate solution for us? You think when you say that, we're going to chase you away, or we're going to say bring the money to do the research? We're not going to say. African Union asks us to generate solutions and technologies for this without putting a dime on the table. It is our role to rally around our fraternities of research organizations at different levels and to provide answer. So I'm giving you an open check that FARA is there, and you can collect, you can make a demand of existing thing. The second thing you need to do, which my brother speak to, and the other colleague from the REX speak to clearly, is capacity need. And whether you know it or you don't know it is a key area. You know, I said in a public forum, I nearly got shut down, that the meeting you should be calling, don't let anyone invite you as a participant into such meetings. In other words, you should be able to do an assessment of your own capacity need and make a demand from organizations that could boost your capacity. The third thing I have in my note that I believe that my brother Chapoto will speak to very well is your alignment with policy. You will be forgotten if you don't push it. So you need to push, and don't let anybody do policy without your input. This is really very important. Why your organization may not be able to do coherent policy analysis, you get it. But you need to link up and push through. I think by the time we finish this meeting today, FARA will be signing an MOU with PAFO But let me assure you on behalf of my Executive Director, Akademiya, that we are ready to work with farmers. Actually, our job is not delivered until we put you in the center stage of what should be done with CAADP 3.0. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Fatumi. And since you've already talked about policy work, I would like now to turn to my brother here, Dr. Chapoto, to continue the discussion on policy, building on what Dr. Fatumi has shared, but also bringing in the perspective of ANAPRI. Over to you.
Thank you very much. Maybe a brief about ANAPRI. As my sister said, I'm new, but I'm not new to ANAPRI. I was on the technical side, but now I head the network. ANAPRI is a consortium of policy research institutes in 15 countries currently, and we have 16 members. And essentially we work to generate evidence in the policy space, discuss with governments on issues, provide data, work with farmers, work with private sector, work with everyone so that at least we can have sustainable solutions to transform the agricultural sector in the continent. And our belief, I think if you've seen what we have been trying to do these past few months, is that we believe that we need to move from policy to action. I've always questioned why we come to five-star hotels to have meetings. We should have them in one of the one of the rural areas, pitch tents, bring the economy to the people. But of course, that's my crazy thought. We usually discuss issues about farmers without them in the room. And I think over the years, I've always wanted to be a farmer myself, and I've taken steps to be one. No, I've taken steps to be one and to be a very successful one. One thing I want to say is that farmers are a very important grouping. Because each time we wake up, we think about food. We want to eat breakfast, lunch, things we call health break. If farmers just boycott to produce one season, I can tell you there will be chaos in the world. So farmers are very important. And there are a lot of studies that we have done, and we have seen that they are also a very important voting bloc. And if they go, say, to the State House, to the president, their voices are heard. The challenge I see at the moment, I think it's not at the regional or continental level with farmer organizations. What we are seeing is somebody has found a way to divide farmers. So we have more than one farmer organization in a country, for example. I can give you the example of Zimbabwe. Plenty of them, and all of them, we are trying to serve the same purpose. But somebody has found a way to weaken the voice of the farmer. So one issue I think that that PAFO and its members need to work on is how do we bring them together. And I say, we are there as researchers to assist you to say, you see, you are an important block, and we can show you the evidence to say, you see, when you speak on this issue as one, you tend to move the dial. Right? But when you tend to move as smaller groupings, the dial doesn't move. So it's very important to recognize your position as an important aspect of the food systems, because primary agriculture is very important. Without that stage of production, there's nothing. There's no value chain. So you are a very important aspect of production. So what is it that us at ANAPRI are trying to do? We collect data from farmers. Most of all the surveys that we do, we go to the farmers, and rarely we go back to feedback. And I think We would like to work with the farmer organizations to be able to feed back the results that we generate from these surveys. You know, I always say farmers are patient people. I mean, when I was young, I used to supervise big surveys. I would spend 3 hours with a farmer, and they will be with you. They will not try to push you, but try to go to one of these newer farmers, the newer ones, the kind of my brother here. My brother won't even give you 10 minutes. But for those that are right down in the villages, they give you as much time so that you can fully understand their position. So the issue of data and evidence is very important. So our role under CAADP 3.0 is to make sure that farmers, we break it down for the farmers, what it means to them. Because at times these frameworks are so complicated to an ordinary person. So we need to join hands and work together to break it down that this CAADP 3.0 is coming 20 years after 2 other phases. And in the other phases, we didn't do very well because of A, B, C, D, and this is what we need going forward. Getting closer to what we are doing, and maybe speaking to what my brother was talking about, the soil initiatives for Africa and the Africa Fertilizer and Soil Health Action Plan. ANAPRI, because we are in the thinking business, we are think tanks. And I told my colleagues that I am tired of chasing the money. I am tired of implementing other people's ideas. I would rather go with no money, but with my brain, get a program. People will begin to appreciate it. And I'm glad my brother Boaz says he has money. So we'll see how best we can extract some from Boaz. Eh? Yes. So we, together with the AEU, we launched what we are calling Farmer Know Your Soil. And there's a reason why we are doing that. It doesn't mean that they don't know their soil, but we want them to know their soil because that's the backbone of productivity growth. And productivity growth will drive CAADP 3.0. So, Doc, I'm coming. We need to partner in implementing this. This program essentially is bringing private sector, is bringing government, is bringing development partners together so that we can coordinate our efforts in ensuring that we have healthy soils. And with healthy soils, we can produce more. So it's something that I think I'm very passionate about it. And it's something that we cannot work as research institutions without the farmers. So hopefully we can work together. And that's one program I think that we will work together with. And I think we can develop many other ways to interact. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Chapoto, and we really look forward to partnering with you. And now I'm turning to my last speaker, Ms. Francine. Listening from these different actors, what are you bringing on the table to support the farmers, and what do you expect from us?
So, thank you. Because I'm the last, maybe I will be a bit disruptive. The question of how putting farmers on the center of the implementation, or it's quite central, and we'll all agree about that. The problem is we are going on post-Malabo, where we're not talking about agriculture anymore, we are talking about agri-food system. And this issue about system is a huge one, right? So what are we doing, putting farmers in the center of what? What kind of system do you want for the farmers? And specifically, what are the benefits that we are looking to for the farmers itself? Because we are giving them a huge agenda. It's not only about productivity, but also ensuring that what they are producing is healthy, and also ensuring that they are the one taking the risk when climate change is coming, not as them. So I think that when we are talking about capacity, research, all that is valid. But this is things that we used to do. But when we are talking about food system, what are those innovation? What are those new narrative, new thinking that we are bringing to the table? And for now, I think we need a bit of step back and a bit reflect on what we are trying to achieve. For us at the Shamba Centre, we did a research based on the CERES 2030. So research, actually, most of us, we know exactly what needs to be happening in the ground. We have plenty of researchers. Where this research was quite catalytic was actually to say that there is no one size fit all. There is a portfolio of intervention, and we know those portfolio of intervention that we need to actually put in place. But when we identify the problem, there's another one coming about who's going to finance it, right? And we know that actually all the funding is like disappearing. Our country are not able to do that. So maybe one of the questions to ask PAFO, you know the challenges. Some of the bold solution that my colleague told us here is, can you come with maybe some innovation? Because this financing, it will come, it's a serious problem. We're talking about blended finance. We are talking about different kind of things, but where is the farmers coming in? Because if we are not putting them properly, and if PAFO, for example, is not handling those kind of questions, the benefit is not going to the farmers itself. So I think we need to be a bit disruptive on ourselves, on the way that we are thinking and the way that we are approaching this whole issue. And finally, yes, just to admit that the one that is taking the risk is the farmer. We need to find ways on helping them. We need to push maybe the fact that this access to finance, where our bank are not able to provide them money, is an issue. Maybe we need to work for the parliamentarians with our government to ensure that our banking are also participating to the game. Farmers are not the one who have to take the risk. We should all be part of that solution. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Francine. Another big round of applause to the panelists as they move off the stage. Thank you so much, our dear panelists. I've picked key issues from your discussion, and because of time, I'm not going to summarize them, but I will hand them over to the rapporteur. It's been a great opportunity to moderate the discussion, and my name's Elizabeth Nsimadara, the president of Eastern Africa Farmers Federation and a board member of PAFO. So it has been really a great opportunity to have this discussion. And now we are going to move into the second discussion, which is going to be moderated by our good friend, the managing director of the Africa Food Systems. We all recently came from the Africa Food System Summit in Kigali, and the gentleman behind that organization is none other than Mr. Pathe Sin, who is going to moderate the next session. Thank you so much, and welcome on stage.
Thank you so much, sister, and good afternoon, everyone. So I'm very pleased to be here. I think this is a very important event as we are talking about CAADP, so we cannot do it without farmers. And this session is the second and last one. So I know everybody is a bit tired. It's the end of the day, so we're going to be very efficient. I won't take too much time, but as we are talking about CAADP, it's also about monitoring, implementation, governance, and result and impact. So these are big policies, big documents, but from a farmer's perspective, we're sitting there in a village. What does it mean and how it works? So that's, without further ado, I would like to call, our brother, Dr. Augustine, to join us on stage. We have Mrs. Shikondi also, if she's on here, to join us. Otherwise, we have also the representative of ACMAD. I think Dr. Ousmane Ndiaye, whom I'm not seeing in the room, Yes, so welcome. And then Mr. Hakim. So I think Hakim. Yeah. All right, so we have 3 people. I think we're going to be efficient, effective, and get straight to the point. We are talking about implementation of the CAADP. So you know, most of us, you were expert. You're talking about implementation of a policy, which is always an, abstract from a farmer's perspective. It's not something you can touch. It's a document, but in another way also you can do it. So I will start my first question with Dr. Augustine, who has been involved in the CAADP process for many years. Now, the question here is, can you briefly highlight the process of, for the understanding of farmers of what this means and how do we monitor and evaluate this CAADP for the next coming years, following the experience of what you have done? So at least make it simple then. So, Augustine.
Yes, thank you very much. Maybe before I get into that question, I wanted to say something. And I interpret it. Okay, so. Okay. So maybe before I get into that question, I wanted to highlight something that I believe is important. We have been listening to interventions in several of the sessions that we've been sitting in. Something that keeps coming back, including from previous conversations, is that Africa is not doing well. We are not where we're supposed to be 20 years after Maputo. The discourse is very negative and very pessimistic. I beg to disagree, and I believe that if we are not paying attention, whatever we'll be discussing here will not serve any cause. I took a few examples of where things really move. They might look incremental in terms of progress, but they are there. When you look at them cumulatively, they take us to where we are today. If things were not moving, we'll not be able to be having this conversation today. So let's be optimistic and be focused on achieving more than spending more time on the opportunity that we have missed. Now, going back to the tracking of CAADP, I think it's something very important. If you take in the biennial review process, the biennial review process is something that has not been done anywhere else before. It's very innovative. It's a collective, co-created product that we are all proud of. And I'm able to tell you that farmers have also contributed into that. When you say to the world in Malabo that you want to give opportunity to your constituencies or to the people of your country to review your performance every 2 years and tell you in your face as a leader whether you are doing well or not, I don't think this is something that we've heard of before, especially on our continent. The process of making this happen was very deliberate and was very intentional. African Union, in my view, did a very good job bringing people together to get to where Malabo was able to take us to, in getting countries to commit to be reviewed every 2 years on how they are performing. Now, the process of doing that review is very heavy, but I don't think at this moment we could have enjoyed a better innovative process in which, as I said, farmers are part and parcel. Going from negotiating and agreeing on the indicators all the way to how you train people to go and collect data, clean the data, analyze and validate. I think this is something very important that has been, in my understanding, very inclusive. Farmers that are in the room, in their own right, in their respective countries, have probably been associated with this process. And your association in the process is not just to tick the box, because from the onset, African Union wanted the process to be inclusive and transparent and allow the voices to be heard, your contribution to be considered. So when the negotiation for the indicators is on the table, this is your moment, in my view, as an important constituency, to really be present and play your role. You cannot step back and complain. Make sure that you are there at the table, otherwise people will not call for you to come. In my view, I would like to see the glass half full than half empty. So the incremental move is in the right direction, as I said. We could do more, meaning that you should be there to make sure that not only you are pushing for more accountability, but also yourself, you are able to introspect in appreciating how much you are able to contribute into making sure that the tracking process is a transparent one and delivers the result that we expect it to deliver. When something like the biennial review process is completed and you have the findings, it's very key. It's an important and powerful tool in your hands to go back to your countries, go back to the constituencies and share and do the retailing for people to be aware of what transpired through that process. We see farmer organizations, we see more non-state civil society people doing it. It would be good also to see more structured actions from the part of the farming community. I know you don't want to be lumped into the what is called the non-state actors or the civil society. You want to have your own identity, but that also comes with some responsibilities, in my view. So if you were to help the implementation of the Kampala, and more importantly, the accountability component of it, make sure, in my view, that you revise your strategy towards using the findings of the BR to put more pressure on those who are controlling the levers of decision making. That means you have to also make sure that you are identifying what is your responsibility, that you are able to argue the point that you have, but do that with facts. This is why it's important to have evidence. Capacity strengthening for you to be able to play a meaningful role in the evaluation process is central. As I indicated, we have started some work with PAFO, and hopefully we'll be able to take this to scale. The CEO is here. If there is there are ways of exploring innovative partnerships to make sure that you are able to do more, especially on the evaluation or accountability front, we'll be very open to discuss that further and see how we strengthen the capacity. So maybe to end, before coming back to you, Mr. Moderator, the next 10 years are going to be very exciting. In my understanding, the days where farmers were complaining that they were not at the table are gone. The ball is in our court, in your court. You have to play. There's no way out. Just make sure that you seize the agenda. You don't get into it as someone who's complaining. Come there with proposal, clear proposal, and put on the table. Make sure that you create innovative solutions to the challenges that you'll be facing yourself. Make sure that you train your staff. Make sure that your constituencies are kept abreast with what is happening at the continental level, and how can they use whatever is happening to the country, to a neighboring country, to impress on the decision makers, the lawmakers, and the like. So, Mr. Moderator, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks. I think those are wise words, and I think we will make sure that the farmers also follow up, and the group. So we are also unbalanced in this session. So we only male, And we are very happy to welcome you, Zizi Lilian from Care International, Uganda. And by the way, I will start with you, so at least we rebalance the discussion rather than going to a man. So CARE is an important actor and also international organization working, with farmers. We would like also to hear from you, the role in supporting on this M&E systems with the farmers during the implementation of the CAADP. So how CARE can also come in and support also into that implementation and evaluation.
Thank you so much, Mr. Moderator. I'm actually representing Chikonde, who is presenting in the room opposite us, but I'm happy to take it on and happy to meet the gentleman on the table. As CARE, one of the big things or things that we are looking at is looking at advocacy and representation in terms of where we work with the farmers as agency, but also the organizations. And when I say that, because our focus is mainly the women and the youth, is the women-led and the women rights organizations. By so beginning identifying them, because it's part of M&E, having the tools, knowing where they are, and being able to track them. Number two is the technical support. I think this has been already mentioned in all the plenaries and what we are doing in terms of what can we do, because if you don't have evidence, it's even very difficult for you to do any advocacy work, to engage the members of parliament or to engage AU in terms of what we are doing. So having the tools to monitor what the farmers are doing, what we are doing in the agriculture sector, what are the trends, why do we need this, why do we have the women and the youth on board is key in order for us to do the monitoring and evaluation or tracking whatever we do. So TA, technical support, is key for us across the different countries. And also as CAADP, we've been supporting that, including providing evidence to members of parliament to be able to do their job better, because they've already told us they need the evidence that we do. And also, thirdly, we're looking at transparency and accountability. If we have people doing the work, there's always a service provider, but there's always the user, and sometimes the supplier, and sometimes also the donor at the other side. So bringing them together to say, this is what we want to do, because we have to have tools that actually track that. Once we have agreed on that, we are able to say we are accountable to ourselves as CARE, but also other international organizations that we work with. At the same time, the local organizations can hold us accountable, because there is no way you can improve in terms of quality and in terms of quantity if others don't hold you accountable. So we have what we call a feedback accountability mechanism that we are using across the different countries. And we're also encouraging our like-minded organizations, and as we work with the different governments too, to see that we track, to see that there is improvement, but we hold ourselves accountable. And for us, as even we go on to this Kampala Declaration, the big question is, how are we going to track this? So that we don't just copy and paste, but keep on tracking, maybe have a barometer where we can track and see that when we come back, we are actually saying that we've made progress rather than carrying over the same recommendations year in, year in and year after. So those are key to us, and it's important that we follow onto this. And maybe just to mention one key thing about the advocacy efforts, the issue of inclusion, representation at the national and regional and international level, that has been key for us, but also seeing the numbers of women being there, creating an environment where they can strive and be able to meet their obligations as they do, as they are mandated to do the legislations, but working with men as partners, because we can't do this alone. We have to work with you in order to deliver a comprehensive program as we go on. So quickly, that's what I can say, but it's important that the farmers or all sectors participate meaningfully. Of course, meaningfully sometimes become subjective to the person speaking or the person holding the mantle, but it's key that we define what meaningful participation, for instance, for a farmer, what it means for them, rather than what the organization or the donor defines, so that as we monitor, we are in agreement rather than it being supply. We are going to do this, but what do they want to do? Maybe they don't even want to do it. And from experience, we've seen those changes happening, and we are seeing more farmers coming up to speak, asking us, this is what we don't want, please don't monitor at this time, come later. And also timely information. That has always been helpful for us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. I think those are, accountability, holding each other accountable, but also participation, and they are key, plus the advocacy. I think with the last part, the next coming years, we will try also to see how CARE work closely with farmers' organization to make sure that, those words resonate, and then we can also, support this monitoring during the implementation.
Yeah, moderator, just one thing before I close. It's important that we as international organizations recognize that we supplement just on the role of the different governments, including AU. So when they have a system, especially to harmonize, so that you don't seem like you're into competition, but you are actually having the same agenda. So it's key for us to collaborate, speak the same language, so that the indicators that we are tracking are the same, right from the farmer to the government and to the AU and to CAADP, so that at the end of it all, it's a win-win situation, and we are always accountable to that.
Yeah. Thank you very much for that message of collaboration, and also having coherence on which indicator we are using from, just one for all, so at least there is clarity. So I'll go back to our colleague, I think representative of Mansour Ahmad. So you are also an organization which is working on the implementation. We will be working on the implementation. So now, which kind of role, paramount role in this implementation advocacy you can play as Ahmad to ensure that farmers' interests are also taken into account, particularly for the next coming years?
Okay, thank you so much. On behalf of the Director General, Dr. Ousmane, he was here yesterday, and we witnessed the signing of an MOU with PAFO, very interesting one. First of all, to appreciate AU, PAFO, and also other panelists here. Just to start a sort of background that weather and climate information, the nexus with agriculture is very, very important. That either in fed or irrigated agriculture, weather information, variability, and changes in weather play a very critical role. And I remember while teaching in the university, I stumbled on a document, and I still remember the quote that says, the goal of a Western farmer is always to maximize profit year in, year out. While the goal of a farmer in the, especially third world countries, Africa, is to minimize risk every year, every year. And that risk mostly is risk of vagaries of weather and climate. So for us, in ACMAD, we established Badiane since in the 80s, and WMO having continental mandate of providing weather climate information to support sustainable development. But for critically agriculture, which mostly in African countries is rain-fed, 80%, and rainfall is highly variable in Africa. So that information of when it will rain, how it will rain, and the decision period, and if there are also pockets of dry spell within the season is also very critical. So we do provide services through support to other countries and organizations. And as a result of this, our MOU with PAFO, and we are also open to any continental or subcontinental organizations on how we could also provide linkage between the farmers who are the main users and also the climate service providers. Over the years, WMO realized there is disconnect between meteorology community and the farmers. And that disconnect is because the Met community are scientists and the farmers are peasant community people. But they are literate. But these scientists design a product for them to uptake and without their input. And as a result of this creates a lot of disconnect and misinterpretation of the products. So WMO came up with what they call ownership and co-production of products. And basically that is what ACMAT with PAFO will try to facilitate in enhancing this linkage between the climate service providers at the national and subnational level and also the farming organizations. Working with National Met Service over the years, I've realized extension officers over Africa do have excellent skills and excellent information with capacity in their package. But when you look at the extension package, there is absence of weather information. And this collaboration will now fill in the gap of providing weather information. Over the years, we've seen in Africa and other developing countries that simple uptake of weather information will increase yield by over 35%. And interaction with farmers at national level, we realize also they needed information beyond even the rainfall data. So some farmers at national, subnational level requires information on certain products like crop calendar. And if there is no connection between the climate service providers and the farmers, so there's no way the scientists, the climate NMHHS will now have to design core and tailored products. So three critical areas that ACMAT is very open, and we're also tailoring to work with PAFO and any other relevant organizations, is on enhancing this resilience to climate advisories, especially to farmers. And this will be through improving production and also reducing losses. We've realized simple uptake of weather information, onset, cessation, length of the rainy season, and also total rainfall amount. A farmer will make one decision, and that decision is choice of crop, the variety to go. And that choice of variety will also really help in determining the productivity at the end run. And so we'll collaborate with the PAFO and any other organization in Africa to be able to create policy and tools at continental level. And we can also create what WMO considered as a national framework for climate services. We have seen in many African countries that there is absence of a marketplace whereby you have the climate service providers and the users. And most of these users are farmers. And this is what we call user interface platform. So over the years, we have established continental user interface platform in agri, water resource, and health, and also DRR. So we want to collaborate with PAFO to further enhance the facilitation of the implementation of CAADP, especially the Kampala Declaration, by creating national level user interface in agri and food security. And on this platform, you will have all the research organizations, you will have the med service, you have the early warning service, and then you have the farmers organizations. And in this platform, there will be interaction on the needs of the farmers. This is what we want at this form, in this format, at this frequency. And this is what will really determine how weather and climate information will increase and enhance yield, and thereby also reducing the effect of climate change and also improving the resilience. And so in doing so, also at the national level, So sub-national level farming organizations also will have their own also micro level to this. So just also to mention, we also want to collaborate further with PAFO under this to improve climate early warning system. We've seen in Africa over the years, over last 2 years, flood and drought, despite all these promises and declarations, a single event could even affect the whole GDP, not only agriculture. We've seen what happened in the Sahel, we've seen what happened in the East Africa. Almost after every other year, you either have flood or drought. So despite all the promises and investment, if you don't have effective early warning system, and this early warning system involves also providing demand-driven products and climate services by also having effective dissemination platform. So this we've seen also as another priority area in the declaration, and it's also an area that ACMAT is also ready to partner with other organizations to enhance and improve also the uptake of this. Thank you. Yeah, and maybe just to give an example, while working also at the national level, we've seen in many countries good practices. And these good practices also under this platform with PAFO, we intend to replicate. Like this is a farmer's guide project in a particular country. And in this farmer's guide project, it has agronomic information. It's a crop climate farmer's guide project. And it has also the rain-fed component and also the irrigated component. So in it, farmers will even know during dry season the amount of water that they require. We've seen many river basins in Africa that they suffer from salinity. Farmers thought that the more they apply water, and the more yield, and it's not the same. So it has information on specific water consumption, water requirement, and all other things. So under this partnership and any other one, we are very open to this. ACMAT will also support nations to develop some of these best practices and also transfer and share knowledge among countries. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I think we need those kind of climate information systems, so at least we won't be always surprised like our grandparents that it has been like this for many years, but why it's changing. So, and it is key to also address climate impacts on our region. And we will end with Mr. Hakim. You know, as you know, implementation is always an issue. Governance is key, and improving governance also will be key for this new CAADP. So, how, from your perspective, as we talk about agri-food system, do you see, you know, your suggestion in improving the governance based on what has happened up to now, and more likely bringing all sectors? We talk about agri-food system implementation of the CAADP. So how do we really improve that governance, cross-sector coordination to make sure that this works and farmers also, of course, being part of it?
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen and panelists, I'm sure some people are seeing me as a new face, but a smallholder farmer, so I'm responding to some questions, where are the farmers? And my name is, as already mentioned, Hakim Valiraine. My organization is Eastern and Southern Africa Small Scale Farmers Forum, in short, ESAF. We collaborate very well with PAFO, PROPAC, OROPA, in this fight to make sure that the farmers' voice and issues are incorporated into the CAADP. So it is now that we need now to start evaluating and seeing what was incorporated and not, in that we continue pushing for it. However, we are 22 years old, and we started during the World Sustainable Summit for Development in Johannesburg, and my organization is a small scale farmer advocacy initiated and owned movement, and we are working both in the REX, in the East African community, and in SADC. In SADC, and we are having membership in 17 countries of both in Eastern and Southern Africa. And by that time, we thought that when we are mobilized, it would be very easy for our voices to be able to influence the policies, development processes, but also to be able to have our concerns and issues articulated into the policy process, and then it becomes integral during the time of implementation. But we also thought of the meaningful participation, which the lady spoke about, that one would be wanted to participate meaningfully in the development, in that our issues are part and parcel. We reach direct to 5.5 million people and over 20 million people in the both region indirectly. And in the ESC, before I can go direct to the governance issue, in the ESC, we've been able to participate in the JASA, the Joint Agricultural Sector Review, during those periods, in that we can bring the voices of the smaller scale farmer, but also influencing IALA to come up with the Zanzibar resolution, in that the partner state in East African community can put Malabo into their policy frameworks. And also we petition the IALA with 1 million signatures to make sure that the partner states are able to implement the Malabo into their policy framework. In SADC, we work directly with the Directorate of Agriculture, and here we've been able to participate fully into the Regional Agriculture Investment Plan, and also into influencing the SADC Parliamentary Forum to come up with, to make sure that the SADC countries are able to implement the Malabo, and we have signed memorandum of understanding with the CADESA. In the context of CAADP, ESAF has been key and pillar because we were part of the 3 technical working groups, inclusivity, financing, and the one which was working on technology. And we also submitted the memoranda. And out of this memoranda, 90% of what we put in our memoranda was incorporated into the CAADP. In the CAADP, one of them was the rural development transformation, because in the first CAADP it wasn't there. The other one was putting the small-scale farmers at the center of focus. You know, in the past CAADP, small-scale farmers were not key, and then retaining the 10% allocation from the national state budget, which have had the countries saying it should be dropped during the plenary of the ministerial summit. And for us, we think that one should do it, because where will be the commitment from the countries, and how will they seek financing from the Ministry of Finance? So we thought that one, for me, as farmers, we are not. Then the informal cross-border trade, particularly focusing on women and youth, these were things we proposed. Then this one gives us more mandate to strengthen to propose our suggestions on how to improve the governance of food system in Africa through the implementation of CAADP. So knowing that there were 6 key strategic objectives, this question falls directed to key strategic objective 6, which says that strengthening agri-food system governance. And this one has 3 interventions, the strategic objective 6, and we propose as follows. To achieve the strengthened leadership and ownership, CAADP intervention should be reflected into the National Agricultural Investment Plan, and even the development of the District Agricultural Investment Plan, such that they are working. They are the one which lead into the national level, and we shall be able to mobilize the youth and farmers and women to ensure of inclusivity. Because if we are talking of ownership, then it means that everyone should be on board. The other one, in tracking the progress and monitoring to enforce the transparency and accountability, we propose that the biennial review and the joint agriculture sector should start at the district level. But here it is only done at national, and there is less participation of farmers. But we believe that at district level, if the joint agriculture sector review is done, our voices and the biennial review information will be able to be collected. Then aligning and harmonization of the sector policies involving farmers' organization is key, and other civil society organizations. You know, ministries have been working into silo. Like in my country, you find the Ministry of Water and Environment, find the Ministry of Energy, but these one complement in each other. So we would like this one to be a key focal areas that even the civil society, farmer, which are in the other sectors, come together to enforce this. Then that when it comes to implementation, we don't go into silos. And now, what should be improved again is enhancement of accountability and sector-focused audit. We would wish to see that we institutionalize the social accountability mechanism, such as the budget tracking and participatory monitoring mechanism, to ensure transparency in public agriculture implementation and CAADP commitment. You know, somewhere we at ESAF, we've been able to use the public expenditure tracking system and public accounting mechanism system to ensure that the funds which are given down, much as it has been small, there is value for money, and it's going to the to the planned activities which have been approved. So this one lacking, the issue of accountability and transparency, I don't believe it will be there. And now my last, because when you present last, you are the one who would let the rest to go, much as they don't know that those who spoke last contributed to it. So when you are speaking last, people are now on tension, want to go. So as I present my last part of it, that engagement at the next level, want to ensure that the regional agricultural investment plans incorporate small-scale farmers' priorities and align them with the CAADP strategic objective. This means localizing the CAADP commitment is what we think that if we localize the CAADP, then the governance system which we are talking about will be transparent, inclusivity, and everyone will be on board. So, ladies and gentlemen, much as I say that we influence 90% of what we said was incorporated, but again, there is the 10% which was not taken on board or partially on board. And out of that, 4% was totally not taken on board. And this was food sovereignty, which I saw today coming out into the document. Another one was partially the farmer managed seed system, which they came again partially when they are talking about the seed. And then the last part of it, the one which was not taken properly, was agroecology, but partially into the action plan on page 44, when it's put under sustainable agriculture. So these are the areas we shall be following up to make sure that there is governance, inclusivity, and everyone to be on board. I thank once again PAFO, my president Ibrahim, the CEO, AUC, and the moderator and the panelists for giving us opportunity. We hope to be working together to make sure that we achieve the desired voice. In SF, we say farmers speaking for themselves. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hakim, for being the voice of the farmers, and those are very clear in terms of governance and also summarizing expectation in terms of transparencies, but at the same time also being part of it, fixing whatever is missing. So I won't necessarily take too much time summarizing, because we have also some of those translators who are there. Unfortunately, we have overpassed our time, and they, from respecting them. Overall, I think we all agree that here we would like to work together, and the key word is together. So just not one actor can do it, but at the center, farmers will play the key role. So most of us, development partners, organization, policymakers, we have a plan. We have a program for the next 10 coming years, and let's just go ahead, implement it, monitor, hold ourselves accountable. For all of you also, as a managing director of the Africa Food System Forum, so which will take place this year in Senegal, sometime in September, first week of September. You are all invited. We will have a special session on this. From now on, at least all these topics, we'll try to put it on a paper and see how year after year, when we meet also for those forums, we evaluate and monitor what we are doing in terms of implementing this. Again, thank you so much for inviting me. My name is Amat, and I've been moderating this session. Thanks a lot, and have all a good evening. Yes. So maybe we can take a picture, so we'll give back the floor to...
Yes, thank you very much. We forgot to have the pictures of the last panel, so I think we are going to do it together with the last panel. Yes, thank you very much for the discussions. Without wasting much time now, we want to invite we are going to do it together with the last, yes, all of us, all the panelists, we are going to have one. No, after the closing. Yes, thank you. No, don't run away. Yes, please. I want to give the floor to our president, Mr. Ibrahim Coulibaly, to close the session. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup, Babafemi. Je voudrais commencer par remercier nos deux éminents facilitateurs des panels, Elisabeth et Patrissen, qui ont facilité avec brio les discussions. Nous avons assisté, je pense, à des débats extrêmement productifs qui nous convainquent, une fois de plus, qu'il y a beaucoup de pain sur la planche. Il y a encore beaucoup à faire. Et notre ami de Akademiya disait qu'en fait, il ne faudrait pas s'arrêter sur les échecs. Mais est-ce que nous sommes pessimistes? Moi, je pense que non. Si nous étions pessimistes, on ne serait pas là. Je pense que nous sommes convaincus qu'on peut s'en sortir, mais on s'en sortira tous ensemble ou on périra tous. Je pense que c'est cette vérité simple que les Africains que nous sommes devront comprendre aujourd'hui. Les progrès, il y en a eu, mais ils sont très peu par rapport aux défis qui sont devant nous, aux challenges. Pour ne prendre l'exemple que de la jeunesse, moi je viens d'un pays qui est en guerre aujourd'hui. Il y a 35 ans, quand je suis allé dans le nord de mon pays pour la première fois, à Tombouctou, et que j'ai vu des femmes puiser de l'eau sur la route pour mettre dans des outres, moi qui viens du sud où l'eau est à 10 mètres sous la terre, j'ai posé la question, pourquoi les gens prennent cette eau bouilleuse? On m'a dit que pour avoir de l'eau potable, ils devaient faire plus de 50 km. J'ai dit, mais ces gens vont prendre les armes un jour. C'est ce que j'ai dit. Je l'ai dit comme ça. C'est sorti de ma bouche comme ça. Et aujourd'hui, c'est dans cette région que les gens ont pris les armes. On devait comprendre qu'il n'y a pas de chance pour un seul groupe. Ce n'est pas possible. Ça ne fonctionne pas. L'Afrique doit comprendre qu'elle a un problème de gouvernance. Et un de mes mentors, le doyen Sissoko, aime dire que une marmite n'a pas d'utilité si vous ne mettez pas le feu en dessous. Ça veut dire que le pouvoir a besoin qu'on mette de la pression dessus. Et pour moi, j'ai retenu beaucoup de... un des panélistes qui disait qu'en fait, beaucoup de choses dépendaient de nous, les paysans. Parce que nous sommes quand même le groupe le plus important en nombre. En fait, nous sommes les faiseurs de rois. Il n'y a pas d'élection qui se gagne en Afrique sans les paysans. Et donc, pourquoi nous sommes les plus marginalisés? Pourquoi tout le monde parle à notre nom sans nous inclure réellement? Donc, c'est à nous de fracasser la porte du centre. Je pense que ça, c'est quelque chose que nous devons retenir. C'est nous impliquer, impliquer-nous. Non, on ne va pas nous impliquer. Comme l'a dit un des intervenants, nous devons fracasser les portes qui sont fermées. Il n'y a pas d'alternative à cela. Et nous en sommes capables. Nous avons, je pense, une conscience aiguë de notre responsabilité et de nos rôles et de nos missions. Maintenant, il faut unir nos voix. Quelqu'un l'a dit, nous ne sommes pas souvent unis. On ne peut pas avancer quand nous sommes en train de nous bagarrer entre nous, quand nous sommes en train de nous diviser sur des externalités, alors qu'on pourrait tous s'en sortir ensemble. L'Afrique a toute l'expertise et toutes même les ressources humaines et financières aujourd'hui pour atteindre sa souveraineté alimentaire. Il n'y a aucune raison que quelqu'un dort aujourd'hui dans ce continent sans avoir mangé. Nous avons les ressources en terre les plus importantes de la planète. Peut-être les ressources en eau les plus importantes de la planète. La population la plus importante de la planète. Mais c'est un petit État comme la Thaïlande qui exporte son riz chez nous. Il y a quelque chose qui ne va pas. Il faut qu'on se le dise. La gouvernance politique ne peut pas être permanemment un privilège exorbitant en Afrique où les gens n'ont aucune redevabilité. On prend le pouvoir, on le fait pour son intérêt, son groupe, et on continue à instrumentaliser les autres. Ce n'est pas possible qu'on continue longtemps. La guerre est déjà à la porte de tous les pays africains parce que la jeunesse est en train de se... Et cette jeunesse, elle est paysanne. Ceux qui ont pris les armes au Mali, au Burkina Faso, au Niger, ce sont des enfants de pêcheurs, d'éleveurs et d'agriculteurs. Ils ne sont pas venus d'ailleurs. C'est très facile de les aujourd'hui, avec les armes, ils mettent en difficulté des États. Est-ce que c'est ce que tous les pays africains veulent? Donc je pense qu'il y a une raison, il faut qu'on se pose les bonnes questions. L'agriculture est la seule solution qui est à notre portée aujourd'hui. Moi, je ne parle pas d'industrie autre, d'autres, les mines, tout ça. Oui, on a des ressources autres. Mais ce qu'on peut aujourd'hui, très facilement, faire et régler les problèmes structurels de l'Afrique, je pense, c'est de permettre que l'agriculture redevienne cette agriculture nourricière et créatrice d'emplois et de richesses. Et cela est possible. Mais à condition qu'on mette l'être humain, le paysan au centre. Qu'est-ce que j'appelle mettre l'être humain? Vous savez, il y a une question très simple. Francine a dit, quand on parle de système alimentaire, c'est tout de suite, on est sûr qu'on a pris en charge une complexité. Mais il faut commencer par quelque part. Il faut commencer quelque part. Par où il faudra commencer? À mon avis, il faut commencer par trouver le consensus que le paysan doit vivre de son travail. Ce simple consensus n'est pas en Afrique. Tout le monde est convaincu que le paysan doit produire et donner aux villes pour qu'il y ait la paix. Mais lui-même, le paysan, est-ce qu'il a des revenus? Est-ce qu'il s'en sort? Personne ne se pose cette question en Afrique. Et moi, je trouve ça très gênant. Que des gens qui prennent des salaires très importants, qui peuvent avoir une vie digne, ne se posent pas la question de ce type qui est qui se bat contre le mauvais climat, comme l'a dit notre ami de l'association météorologique, contre un climat capricieux, qui se bat contre des politiques qui sont totalement incohérentes. Et donc personne ne se pose la question s'il a des prix qui couvrent ses coûts de production. Mais commençons par là. Commençons par mettre des dispositifs, parce que le marché libéralisé ne s'autorégule pas. Nous le savons tous. On a libéralisé tous les marchés agricoles et alimentaires en Afrique. Et nous savons que les marchés, il faut réguler les marchés. Il n'y a pas d'autre solution si nous voulons que les paysans, un jour en Afrique, deviennent des êtres humains comme les autres, à part entière, qui peuvent éduquer leurs enfants, ces enfants ne soient pas tentés par des aventures. Donc je pense qu'on a... moi, je suis très, très optimiste. Hein. Je sors d'ici optimiste parce que tout le monde affirme ici qu'il faut qu'on travaille ensemble. Mais ça dépend de nous. Et là, pas faux. Par ma voix, vous dire que nous allons jouer notre rôle. Et nous allons vous demander qu'ensemble, nous travaillons à créer un outil que moi, j'appellerais le Kampala mètre, qui peut nous permettre, dans chaque pays, de mesurer les progrès au quotidien de ce qui va se faire par rapport à la mise en œuvre de la déclaration de Kampala. Il nous faut un outil simplifié, applicable partout, que les petits paysans peuvent eux-mêmes mettre en œuvre pour interpeller les gouvernements à tout instant, pour dire, vous avez pris cet engagement et vous n'êtes pas en train de le tenir. Les 10% ont été un échec. Il faut le dire. Aucun État africain n'a mis 10% de son budget dans l'agriculture. Même ceux qui disent qu'ils l'ont fait, je pense que si vous regardez, vous désagrégez, vous allez comprendre que c'est tout sauf l'investissement dans l'agriculture. Et la transparence autour de ça est un problème. Il nous faut créer cet outil de transparence, cet outil de suivi, cet outil qui peut nous permettre de lire les progrès quotidiens de ce qui va se faire dans la déclaration de Kampala. Et je pense que c'est sur cette note-là que je voudrais vous remercier toutes et tous ceux qui ont participé à ce canal, tous ceux qui acceptent aujourd'hui de travailler avec une organisation paysanne comme la PAFO et ses démembrements pour que l'Afrique relève la tête. Je vous remercie.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président, pour cette remarque. Now we are going to sign our MOU with FARA. But before then, all the members of the two panels, please, can you come for group photograph quickly before we do the signing of the memorandum? Thank you very much. I'm not a member of the panel, but I want to join.